up on the good old YouTubes over here.
Sir.
Should be coming in. I got chat showing up.
Go ahead and keep you guys here. And I'll have lost Cloudia on my side right here.
Not seeing it show up yet. Maybe it's a little bit lagged. What's going on here? Says that I'm streaming. Says that I'm live 30 seconds ago. Alright, over to my channel. Let's test. This is going to look great, I'm sure. There we go. Alright. Alright, I think we're probably sounding good. Cool. I'm going to drop out of this so I'm not eating up my internet. And, good to go. Hello, friends and fellow gamers. I am That Zero, and we are back with Cap Raise Episode 2. And I am joined by my co-hosts, DK.
Yo!
And Jawline Coon.
What's up, guys?
Hey, we have a meaty episode for today since we got Arc 2, we got new units, we got new tower floors, we got all sorts of stuff on the agenda for today. So let's go ahead and just get started with the new hotness, Leona. How you guys feeling?
DK, you want to share your painful experience?
Oh, wait, do I have a painful experience? I don't think I do.
I don't know.
I feel like, yeah, okay, so I did pull her. I haven't really had a good chance to actually build her yet, so but from what I've seen so far, she's pretty good. Like I said, it's a fight against dual wield right now, and so it's kind of a strange adjustment to start. I don't know. I know, Jawline, you were saying whenever because you guys blasted my DMs with y'all's awesome pulls, and I think I even said I didn't get squat. I might have said something else, but in number terms, yeah, I didn't get her on my first set. But I did see that you guys got her, and Jawline had stated that she was having trouble with her whites, but capping sometimes on crits. So yeah, I'm barely scratching the surface on getting her skills even going right now. I just got her to 100 as far as some other little things, but she's still struggling to hit those caps. I'm really tempted to throw on dual wield. I'm trying not to. I'm really trying not to really get the testing done. But yeah, so far yeah. I'm a big fan of the design. It's cool, and Jawline really wanted a brawler, so we got it. The last one was Prim, so we needed it. We needed her in our rosters.
Yeah, I mean, kind of Milam. I would say Milam was a brawler.
Oh, it wasn't Milam the last one.
See, that I was so salty about that collab that I kind of just. It's kind of out of my...
If you wanted to flavor argue, I would almost say that Dilmordo is kind of a brawler too. Like, everything is him just getting in their face, lifting people up, and punching them a lot. So
that is true. I agree.
Jawline, you're muted. You're muted right now, man. I can't hear you at all. Is it just me?
No, I know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Got it. Okay. All right, I'm just making sure.
Probably shouldn't do that. I was just replying to the chat.
I'm just making sure. That's cool. All right.
Oh,
yeah. So. My experience so far with Leona is she's super fun. I want to do some testing with the key system and if there's any good ways to gain those stacks better than others. One thing that's a little weird is she so far feels to me like she needs 5-star more than a lot of the other new units we've gotten, because most units feel really, really good at 4-star max board. She was kind of lacking. She's got minimum 16k locked behind for a cap. In her 5-star enhance, along with massive strength and physical damage bonuses. I think going from 4-star up to 5-star in the same exact content, her whites went from being 20 to 25k up to consistently over 40k of my whites, of basically getting all the nodes except her abilities. So I have the only 4 abilities I have to unlock are actually upgrading her skills themselves, but I got the SC upgrade as well as the big things like the grapple claw or whatever it's called. And that was massive. Like, it was a huge game changer. And I suspect that the 40% strength might have actually had something to do with it. Just because she went from, like, 1800 strength up to, like, 27 that I have now. And, like, normally we don't care about stats much, but her strength isn't that incredibly high compared to a lot of other people. And my thoughts on this unit are, it feels like the devs said, what are all the talking points people have for, like, the most meta things? And let's just try to turn all of it on its head. Like, oh, hey, why is dual wield mandatory? All right, let's push single wield super hard. Hey, why is Trish mandatory? Hey, you can't use Trish anymore. Okay. Hey, we just make all of our non-crits cap, so why do we need crits anymore? Well, she doesn't scale quite as well as others, so you're going to have to build her a little differently, and crits probably actually the way to go, so you can hit some ludicrous numbers. All right. So, like, while I've been building her and testing her, it just feels like you have to think a little differently with her, and you can't just do what you've always done, which is follow the physical damage dealer formula. She's sort of her own beast, but she's better than I expected now that I got her 5-star. She feels far better at 5-star. So, Jawline, where you at, man?
I think she's cool. Her like it just her design is pretty neat. I was asking for a brawler or whatever, and I got it, but I don't know. She's fun to use. Her kit obviously is focused on pushing single wield, and I think them trying to go with this decision is probably, I don't know if it's like a act of rebellion against dual wield or something, but they're definitely trying to, with this unit, it seems like they really tried to steer away from dual wield, which they did because they gave her tons of handicaps if you did dual wield her. But as far as like her damage, I haven't gone full crit because I don't know, like I get her up to the 40k mark on whites. It's just that even with all like the damage boosting, like what is it, Berserker, Ifrit, Sharp Eyes, all that, like she can get up there, but she doesn't consistently hit cap.
Yeah.
All the other units that can. If you think about it, they do it relatively easily, you know?
Yeah.
They can reach that cap and stay there. But with Leona, no matter, even pairing her with Senku and giving the enemy all the debuffs, it still feels like she can't reach cap consistently.
So I hear you, and I totally agree. And I think it just gives her a different feel. Like, the first instinct is, like I said, we sort of are needing to think of her a little differently than other units, and the status quo before was if you can't hit cap, they're probably not quite good enough. But it seems like with how quick her animations are, in my opinion, and the hits minus her S2, because her S2 doesn't have very many hits, but between her S1 and her S3, if you can actually get it, if you are getting over 40k consistently, not hitting cap, but just over 40k, and you can sorry, total brain fart for a second there. Like, if I'm just comparing that to if we were dual wielding and hitting the same numbers, you know, we'd still be looking at a 20k cap. Like, equivalent in the DPS front. Like, there's other things that you get by gaining dual wield, obviously, but if we're just looking at straight damage, if I have somebody with her hit count, if it was on dual wield, with 20k caps, and I was consistently hitting 20k, but she's going over that, because it's somewhere over 40, then we're looking pretty good, and she feels pretty strong, in my opinion. Obviously, she's more niche, because you cannot be using Trishula, you can't be doing different things like that. She's Earth and Claw locked. So, like, she's definitely more specific and niche in how you have to build her compared to other units, but her damage feels like it's up there and competes with others. Like, I don't feel like I'm thoroughly handicapping myself to be running her. Like, she's obviously not going to hit Roy or Luxeus levels, but I'd imagine that if somebody had, like, Honey Elixir or Winry's Apple Pie, like, you can probably make her into a DPS engine, much like a lot of other units like Lil. Maybe she'd fall a little behind Lil. I don't have her myself to be able to test both of them, but I feel like she's up there. I think she's a competent DPS, but
Yeah, for sure. I did run Honey Elixir and Goddess Kiss, and her Goddess Kiss returns were pretty good. They were,
Yeah,
I think, every now and then I'd hit like 400. The average was like 200. So
that's
she can
good.
definitely do her own Honey Elixir battery.
Yeah. I see. I haven't even got a chance to mess with that. I started working on apple pie. Would you prefer honey elixir or apple pie? I'm not. I think they're pretty much into the same
If you have
cause.
them, Honey Elixir is better, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
it's
Okay.
time stop. So like, Winry's
Time
apple
stop
pie in
and full
multiplayer,
heal.
use WAP in multiplayer, so you're not an asshole. But but if you're in solo play or
Yeah.
doing showcases, like yeah, Honey Elixir is better
Hmm.
Yeah.
for sure.
I actually thought about running her dual wheel too to see. I mean, I was like, am I really going to be sacrificing, a lot, for
Yeah, it's
the
like a
trade-off?
30. I did the math, and it's like a 32% damage potential loss if you do run her dual wield.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, n now with I don't think that's that huge of a deal because there isn't really right now there isn't really content that's like, hey, you kind of want to single wield her, you know? So
Exactly.
I don't really think it's a big deal with a dual wielder,
Hmm.
but obviously they want you to single wield her, but dual wield,
Right.
I still think it's okay. I mean, you're losing on damage, but I mean, it's
Yeah,
fine.
you
Like I
gain other
said,
stuff. You gain a lot of other
yeah.
procs. She would be if you wanted her to lean into less damage and more survivability. Dual wield technically probably does it better, just because she has really good mind, which means your proud force hits are going to be good. So doubling up on force hits is going to
Hmm.
make her just tankier inherently. So she's going to be doing less damage, but she'll survive more. And I would say there's an argument to be made that if you don't have the resources yet to get her to 5 star, because there's such a big amount of cap raise there, she might actually be better 4 star on dual wield. Like if you don't have her full potential unlocked, like
Mhm.
she's probably about comparable with dual wield. So
Right, right. That'd actually be a lot wiser. Yeah, honestly, if you guys, yeah, that'd
yeah,
actually be a great method of just kind of keeping her steady, at
yeah,
least for and the content right now is like you said, it's not really. We don't need those high damage caps.
Yeah, we don't. We really
We're
don't.
hitting 20. What's our highest right now? Like 28. Maybe 30s on physical damage cap, depending on what you're running. And I mean, I'm seeing things get slayed left and right. After seeing going back to not seeing her damage caps and how easily others can perform. And a good example is Alice. Alice's performance on damage cap is flawless when it comes to whites and crits. I
mm-hmm,
just you just see the numbers stack over and over again. I personally don't have her, but I have a lot of friends that do, and it is an
Hmm.
absolute blast to use her.
mm-hmm,
Just because of how well, even at 50 SC 50 SC level 100 Alice, she's capping so well, and that 5 star just makes her even better. So, you know, and that's what's kind of like, that's why I'm kind of like, man, I'm really hoping Leona can like top that, like, as a newer
yeah.
character or be on the same, level. And like right now, I have her at 50 SC and she struggles a little bit more. So I'm sure when I 5 star her later on today, because I am missing feathers, so I'll be able to test her a little bit more and stuff like that. But I'll probably stay away from the dual wield for her just because I don't necessarily need. I have other units that have dual wield if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to stick on the train that she came in on so that I can kind of test out the single wield and see like how much of a difference it really does make on certain things. But yeah, so yeah, I'm excited about her. I think she's gonna be a lot of fun, and the new arc was pretty cool too. So
Nice. Yeah. For Goddess Kiss, when you were doing your testing, Jawline, did
Hmm.
you test different weapon types? Does it seem like she needs an Earth Claw to really hit those numbers, or can she do pretty well still with like the Godforge Claw?
Uh, I think I was running her with the Phoenix Blow, claw.
Oh, okay. That's like worst of all worlds. So if that was working, that sounds great.
Yeah, I don't think I even have an Earth. Do I have an Earth Claw?
No.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
you should.
sure.
Have you done any of the campaign yet? The new arc?
Oh, the Earth. Yeah, okay, so I do have them, but I've just been using the Phoenix Blow one,
Sweet. And it was
and
fine.
she was doing fine. Yeah.
Nice. That's great. Um, cool, cool, cool. Let's see here. Oh, I will say, as far as her kit, she feels very balanced. Like she obviously has some ludicrous things to make single wheeled work, but I kind of feel like there's a couple of missed opportunities for like flavor and also just helping with some SC saves, which
Hmm.
I think close boost and close high boost have kind of just sort of sat around and not done a ton. There's very few units that like it. I feel like Leona was made for close high boost. Like
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
boosting physical damage, your mind, your defense. Like she's a very balanced unit for tankiness. Like she's very bruisery and has that sustain. So like I wish she would have come with close high boost as well as weak point boost. Like the fact that they're forcing her into an elemental role and she's a monk and she's got like the precision strikes and stuff, like weak point boost feels like an easy choice. So I'm kind of disappointed those two things didn't come on her. So that's like what 16 SC that if you want them, it's kind of rough. And weak point boost you pretty much always want on her.
Yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, like I was running all the damage boosts. I would put her up against Pablo. I was doing weak point boost, all that jazz. I don't know if I had surprise attack or backstab, but even with against Pablo, with its earth resistance being so low, and then Senku, and then trying to just buff her up. I don't know. I still felt like even on single wheel, just consistently reaching cap was still pretty. Like I said, it wasn't consistent. Like it was up there for sure. Like I could see the numbers, but I couldn't see it across the board on every single hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I'd like to transition over into her paid gear. We got 13 asking how her paid gear is. Also, Fang, hi. How's it going, man? Have fun where you're going. And so her paid gear, how do you guys feel? Let's start with the claw.
So I feel like it's not 100% necessary. I'm a huge fan of paid gear as far as the damage caps. The fact that it does come with Brave is really, really nice. But I feel like because of what I've heard so far from Jaw is that, she's struggling for that. So there's two, actually, she's struggling with the damage cap, but also there's also another reason. It's kind of like a 50-50 for me at the moment because one, I feel like the strength is a little bit low. For what we need her to do, she does. It is, but I believe it is our only high tier Earth Claw. Everything I have
Mhm.
is either neutral or ice, fire, poison. So I feel like until we get something like this, I guess we're gonna be. If people don't want to do it, we'll be stuck with something of an opposite element, or like a neutral element. But the
Yeah.
1500 damage cap is really really nice. So is a continuous bird effect, and then the 8% crit rate. So I feel like the way I look at it is if you pulled her in your first paid lap and you don't have enough, I wouldn't spend the extra trying to get it. If you did spend a little bit more, trying to get her and you obtained her within like 25 credits, 35 credits, it does happen occasionally. You'll spend your paid and you're like, oh crap, I spent too much. And then
Hmm.
you look at your credits and you're like, oh wow, I have enough to buy paid gear. Then definitely get the paid gear. Of course, I always go for anything with a damage cap, and then of course a prism if it's possible. The boots, I probably would. I mean, special gauge 25% chance to for special to do crit, continuous speed effect. There's other ways to get that. I mean, besides the 25% special gauge. But my personal opinion, if you have the credits, definitely get the paid gear. If you don't chase it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my personal opinion on it.
Yeah, so
Um,
my thing will be in general we do have an Earth Claw, so there's a free to play option if you want to match elements for Goddess Kiss procs. So for anybody that doesn't know, the new shop in the new zone has some new weapons. We've got a new Fire Sword, so people without that don't want to be running Salamander or that don't have the Fire UR, there is a Fire Sword available to people, and there's also an Earth Claw. So we have a budget version if you're wanting to match elements. So that's cool. If we didn't have that, her paid claw would bother me to no end. Before I found that, I was actually quite disappointed in Adis because it's an example of, okay, well, this could be your definitive best in slot just simply because not another alternative exists if you're looking to match element. So I'm glad that they put in a free to play option with the same exact update. So that's good. For her claw, I agree. It is not worth chasing. I don't think any paid gear is completely necessary for anyone. But that said, I do think that if you're trying to maximize her damage, I think that it is her best in slot, which I cannot say for any other person's weapon. And the reason is, there's no other claw in the game that has crit, and it gives a pretty meaty 8% crit, And when I've been building her, we've already talked about her whites having trouble hitting some damage. It feels like pushing her crit as high as possible is really what she's all about. It gives you more opportunities for instant strike. It lets you leverage things like Icy Guardian more. And it just, in general, her numbers hit so incredibly hard and more consistently when she's critting. And at base, I think that she gets over 60% crit rate. With the stuff in her kit, you give her Ordor and all of the crit raise stuff that you can throw on skills, right? And then the extra 8%, I think, puts her up over 70%. And I think that's without actually having her conditional, 100 hit combo. So I think her getting crit up is really, really key. And since we have no crit alternatives, it's a pretty big deal. The cap raise is kind of negligible because when she can already have crit, or when she can already have damage caps of like 40, 50k, even higher, like an extra 1500 when you're not dual wielding even is kind of Like, it's like a 1% damage increase on your ceiling if you're even hitting it, which you're probably not. And then the Brave is pretty good since she's, like I said, I think she seems a little more stat dependent than others because she's just built for it. So, like, when she can, without trying, and, like, I have no strength increases on her, and she's at 2,700 strength. So, like, bumping that by an extra 20% continuously, that saves you 6 SC. So, like, that probably makes her a bit more consistent, too. The boots, I do think, are less of a priority, like, if I already had the medals for it. But the reason I like the boots, and if I had the resources, I would run them, is simply for that continuous speed effect. Because while she has movement on all of her abilities, she has, like, either a small dash, or a teleport, or a charge, all of her stuff, and it feels super fun to use. They're all distance gated, which means you always have to still move within range in order to use your dashes. So anything to boost that helps a lot. So I've been running around things like maybe the ninja suit to give a +1, speed boots for another +2. Like anything to boost her speed makes her feel a lot better. So if I had some extra boots to give her a speed effect, I would probably run it. Otherwise, people can always just put on fast speed from the boss UR. So it's only 40% or a 40-second buff, but still pretty good. So that's my feeling on those. Do you have anything to add, Ja?
For the paid gear,
Yeah.
I don't normally go for paid gear. Her claw is best in slot if you're trying to do crit. But
Yeah.
overall, I don't see the claw as anything special.
Mm-hmm.
As for the boots, the only thing that I see special about it is the 25% special. Other than that, I don't know. To me, I've never been one for like, what's the paid gear looking like? But just looking at her gear, I don't think there's anything special about it, to be honest.
Yep.
Just for me, I wouldn't chase it.
Yeah.
At all.
I mean, I have no paid gear myself for anybody, so, I don't think anybody should go spend money to go force to get it. But if we ever got some sort of an update in the future where they added paid gear to the Crimson Ore Shop, which we've heard, and, we've seen some of that with some other alternatives. If we had that happen and we could go spend 5,000, 10,000 or whatever it was and go get any of the previously released paid gear, I would say it's probably higher on my list than a lot of the others. So that's where I'm at.
If you had a choice, knowing that you can actually get the new Earth Claw and this Psycho Village with the new update, knowing that we can actually obtain something in like the Earth Claw that she needs, would you spend the credits for, if they did have them, would you spend them for the Claw or would you spend them for a Prism?
I think that I would get the Claw.
Oh, okay.
Because 2 SC is not comparable to 8% crit.
Yeah.
8% crit is a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
a point.
That's 7 SC. That's crit 3. So, and that stacks with crit 3, basically.
You're talking to a guy who has so much paid gear.
I do not.
Yeah. But for other people out there, kind of like, what should I spend my creds on if I do have it? So yeah, it's actually great feedback.
Yeah.
Go ahead and wait till I'm call.
Yeah. But for people that aren't doing that, which should be most people, I would hope, there are some really, really good options. So obviously the Earth Claw in the new shop, that's the easiest one. Just go grab that. It costs X amount of money. if you can afford it, cool, get that. Other ones that I think are really good, the multiplayer claw helps you cut through defense just because it gives you a piercing effect, plus just a flat 10 to 15% physical damage, depending on if you got it fully upgraded. And because she has a lot of stuff to just give you stat bonuses, it has well over 300 strength. So it's going to play into that stat much harder than all the other alternatives. And the other one that stands out in my head is Venacleave, just because she does have a hard time getting those whites to be hitting those really high numbers, like ludicrously high numbers. So just making the damage more reliable. If you can set up a team where she's able to go and get poison on people, or maybe you have a mage using Poison Cloud or Venomous Rainfall, and you can get poison procs on everybody, then I think that it's probably worthwhile to do that and then start throwing out her abilities, and that's going to ramp up her damage a ton. Because, I mean, 50% extra damage is pretty significant.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because, yeah, I was running Venocleave. Was taking her up against that new world boss or whatever, and just inflicting poisons, a fairly easy thing to do. But yeah, that 50% damage, if you can, squeeze that into the fight just to help her out more, then yeah, Venocleave is definitely the better option.
Yeah.
Just for the 50% damage, you can't ignore that.
Yeah. When I was testing it, the only issue I ever ran into that was noticeable was there is a fair amount of enemies that are nil on poison, which means you need to have your support running a null mouth, or maybe she's just not well cut out for that fight, or you need to be using a different sort of weapon. Because if you can't get poison on someone, Venacleave's a liability, and it's not helping you.
Right.
So it's either the best or it's doing nothing. So
yeah.
Yeah, and then you're right about the Phoenix Blow Claw too. Like that's just a flat 15% for skill damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might not have a ton else for it, but that can still help that neutral damage. So that's totally a solid pickup as well. So, yeah. Anything else on Leona you guys wanted to talk about?
No, I pretty much covered that one.
Sweet.
I'm excited to see how they go forward with new units, because I think they had mentioned something about Lug being, like the pinnacle of like DPS and whatnot, and having them release Leona, I can see that now, because I mean, she's good and all, but definitely not, not Lug levels. And I'm not trying to compare, because everyone, just goes, oh, is she better than Lug? But just, for them having said Lug is going to be the pinnacle, this is just, a good example. And again, the game doesn't have content to where you even need, such high DPS, to be honest. So I think them trying to make a unit that's like elementally, they really caged her into, only equipping claws and not being able to use Trishula. So I think she's gonna have her niche, like her use in the future. I'm sure in some particular fight. So I'm wondering if they're gonna do the same thing with coming units, if they're gonna go the same route with Leona, or maybe she was just like a prototype to single wield, and seeing how people felt about that and whatnot. Because how global is, we love dual wield and whatnot. So
yeah, and to be honest, I think the thing is like, we love dual wield just because it's just so effective, but I don't think everybody loves the status quo of dual wield. Like, it's kind of boring that we build every unit the same way. Everybody asks, how do I build this new unit? And you're like, go back to the last 50 Reddit posts of the last 50 physical DPS characters that came out. It's literally the same.
All the same.
Yeah, the only difference is, we'll add something to the list if something new came out in an arc or something. Speaking of which, the arc, Savage Strike, we got a new one of those. So we'll transition to that very shortly. But in regards to units in general and as a whole compared to Luxeus, I think that them declaring him as the pinnacle, I think, is going to be the case. But like we talked about last time, he's not always the best. You need all of the best things. Like, he's kind of a luxury unit. If you have all the pieces, yes, he can technically output the best DPS. But they've said that they plan on having things on similar but maybe slightly lower power levels, but just shifted slightly. So Roy was like that, where, okay, at base, he's probably not as good as Luke. You throw on Alchemy, all of a sudden, he starts competing. Same with Ed. They're just a different way of having DPS and pushing past a bunch of other units. And maybe they're not quite as high as Lug, but they're still broken in their own way. And,
Right.
Leona, I think, is definitely a test on that, where, she she has this sort of varying damage where it's not just maximizing damage consistently, but more so having jumpy numbers where you could have some things that hit really, really hard because of instant strike and crits and all that sort of stuff. And so the numbers could be really high and she could be fun to use, but it's just a different feeling than everything else. But then she's also pretty survivable, and she's single wheeled, obviously. So I think that we'll definitely see more single wheel units in general, especially with them updating instant strike to be non-weapon dependent. So I don't think they did that just simply so Leona will work. I think they're going to try this experiment more, which I'm excited for. I'd love to see them do things like have increased movement speed, or like do triple break damage when they're single wheeled, or something like, push units into niches while single wielding, and sort of lean into it to just make some really interesting things. But maybe not so much as they did on her, like make it so, oh well, if you want the DPS option, maybe dual wield is still technically as good, or even slightly better. But if you choose to single wield, their damage is still quite good, but they also gain all this utility stuff. And
Right.
I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of just weird, creative ways of shifting how DPS looks and the way we think about the game. At least that's what I'm hoping. And the way that they've been doing unit design over like 2021 and the units they've been dropping, I'm fully confident that their creativity and like ability to make some new stuff is going to shine through, and they're going to surprise us in some ways. So I do think Lug will probably be pinnacle of DPS for the foreseeable future if you have a perfect account, or like just at least the tools he wants. But
Right.
I think we're going to see some very interesting units that push others either out of the way or at least sit on par with others like Ed and Roy, and I mean even Swimsuit Alice for that matter, because I think she's pretty up there at this point. So
Yes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like she's like that unit where I feel like we've been really like spoiled with dual wield and
Yeah.
Tristilla, and like what they're doing is, and I get what they're doing. I totally 100% like see what they're doing, and it's almost like like I think I was talking to somebody the other day, like old school RPGs. There wasn't stuff like the way the editing of this game is just insane, and you can just kind of do whatever you want. But I feel like they're kind of like trying to keep a character as a character, and you use this character for what this is, and and that's how it is. But I mean, with the chance that you can edit it, but to get its full potential, they want you to play her as she was built. I feel like it's kind of like an old school RPG method. So that's like one way I can look at it and be totally fine with it. But like I said, I'm gonna keep her single willed and kind of pursue the just yes. And then you can tell by the arc too, which we're gonna talk about here in a second. There's a lot of stuff in that kind of screams single willed.
yeah,
So
and I will say, kind of related to it, I think that them kind of forcing us to break away from the status quo, I'm hoping will help to encourage players to just look at game mechanics a little differently. Because, like,
right.
yeah, we look at Trish as a particular way, but like I talked about with how I opt to build Roy in the last one, I hate running Trishula on him because it kills his Goddess Kiss procs. So I instead just try to find ways to reduce his elemental resistance. So I hope that we will be continuing to go down that path, because I think that she will benefit from similar things, either having on a support or on her herself having weak and Thunder Circle in order to get her resistances down.
Right.
If you have somebody like Shift Lilibet, her S2 can put on that Earth down. So them next to each other, as a DPS and a sub DPS, however that ends up playing out damage-wise, I think would be really great, because that's nerfing things by 60%, which is great. If you got Gen to do extremely bad chemical, that gets it down to minus 75. I mean, that's much easier to hit weak point boost and just elevate that damage. So it's just, I think a game is very, very good when you introduce things that encourage people to test and think about the game differently without just giving you pop-ups that say, hey, you should be playing differently.
Right.
And I think this is one of those things where, like, it takes away people's crutches, meaning they have to think if they want to use this character well.
Yeah, like how Crypt here, he said that it's giving units identity, and I agree with that.
100%.
It feels like maybe this might be the start of the shift away maybe, yeah, it feels like it's the shifting from how we've been playing LC and like just, putting dual wield on this pedestal and all that. All the DPSs are, just are the same. It feels like maybe they're gonna try and force us to play it differently up against, more different content, I guess, in the future. Like maybe we'll actually have, fights that make us use like mono earth teams or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
It'd be
mean?
super cool. I'd love it.
Like actually using debuffs and not just running Trishula. Like
Right.
Yep.
like up until now, right? It's just been
Like
hey
an
Trishula.
RPG.
Yeah,
Like a,
Yeah.
actually
like a
using
real, yeah.
debuffs.
Yeah.
So maybe this is just like the beginning to that shift,
Yeah.
which I think is cool. Like finally give me a different way to play the game. Like all
Exactly.
this time I've just been playing it the same way.
Yeah. And along those lines, just a way that they could shift kind of the OP-ness of like a support unit, for instance, is, we have select units that could have their ult or a skill apply a specific elemental debuff that obviously stacks with these other ones because it's a different type of debuff. We don't have those manifested as an actual magic spell yet. So if we could eventually get, if maybe we get a rainbow debuff support that has access to every elemental 20% down, or maybe they even have like a high version of it that does a 25 or a 30%, they're going to be pretty busted for like combining with some of these units because they're the only thing that can do that. And they just unlock different ways to play the game just by introducing that as a new character. So like
Right.
there's so many different things that they could do for that, and I'm excited for it. All right, well, we've been on Leona for a long time. She's a beautiful unit. She looks great, but let's go over to Psycha Inn. Is that how it's pronounced? The arc that came with her?
Like a
Oh,
guild.
The Psycha Guild? Yes, thank you.
I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
So many
yeah,
crazy
you are.
names.
So my feelings on the equip itself, it's cute, but I'm not going to run the arc. Like, yeah, I could
don't
put
want that break?
I could put on a
Arrow
bunch of
dog?
mimicry, and then if I understand how it works, it can give you at best 150% break, right? Yeah. So if you cater your team in order to abuse some different stuff, you can have 30% more than Grana Seas. I think I'd rather just run Phoenix Blower Grana Seas and get the other bonuses that come with those in many cases. I wish that it gave a little more than just stats to go with it.
My Gobble would like this.
Yeah?
For that 150 break, yeah. Anything that I can use
Just a
to
little
boost
bit extra?
Gobble's break, just a little bit more, I will use it.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, I think that it's fine. The main things on there that I think, Savage Strike, I think that's the real reason to chase it, like number one reason.
Wait, sorry to cut. Hold on.
What?
This says for every living ally that shares no types with the unit. Oh, it doesn't. Okay, I read it as it counts the unit and the ally. So I was reading 200%.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, 200 would be a little bit better. I'd be more tempted for 80% difference, but the Savage Strike I think is really the big highlight because anytime we get a new generic damage bonus, it's really sweet. I'm excited about it. So another way that you could potentially make Leona's neutral damage go up in Arena, I'm sure it's going to be nutty, just because it's all about that spike damage and just trying to not let people heal through stuff. When you can crit over 20k and just insta-nuke somebody, feels good. But I have not been blessed with the arc, so I don't have it. I do not know what the chance to miss, which is the negative that comes with that skill, is. I would guess maybe 10%, 20%.
It's
I don't know.
from what I heard, I think they did a mine. It's like 20. It's 20%. It's
Cool.
the missing. I thought it was 20% as in like missing skill debuffs, but it's actually just flat out missing 20%.
Yeah, and I assume that's like on a per hit basis. So like basically you lose out on like 20% of your damage, more or less. Not like a 20% chance for an entire skill to whiff, but like 20% per hit to just not do damage.
It's per hit.
Yeah. So if your neutral damage is not hitting cap, seems totally worth it to be running it, I think, if you have the room for it. Especially on someone like Leona, I think. So it's fitting that it comes on her arc because For me, since she has so many bonuses while she's at full health, I don't really want to be running something like Berserker. So, like, for that SC, I could spend one more, throw on Savage Strike, and I feel like it fits her a little bit better. Like, Berserker probably translates to more effectiveness and more damage overall, but if I want her to be surviving and abusing that full health type playstyle, I'd go with Savage Strike in that case.
The thing you mentioned Berserker, I was gonna bring this up. Funny enough, Berserker and Ifrit, you know how you take damage.
Yeah.
That also holds back on her second trait, where when using a skill gain ki, and taking damage you lose ki. So that
That
damage,
actually affects that.
yeah,
Hurts
it
it.
actually affects
Oh.
it. I ran it with
That's rough.
Ifrit and Berserker, and then I ran it without, and I saw that I got the key charge off more quickly without having those two.
Okay,
So
that's good to
yeah,
know.
just thought I'd mention that. I forgot to bring it up.
Absolutely. On that note, just because we have already teetered back to Leona anyway, and I make tangents, we were kind of talking some theory crafting of ways to actually run Leona, and I think one of the methods that I like is running some sort of a support or a tank to be able to draw enemy aggro with allures and different sorts of ways of raising your monster attractiveness, and then having her on some things where she can run reject and maybe like piece of gear that reduces her monster attractiveness even more so that she can get behind enemies, not have them attack her as much, which means she's not getting hit as much, losing ki, and then make it easier to hit the like surprise attack and backstab damage just to help that neutral damage even more. So I think that's a pretty solid way to kind of build a team comp to sort of help with that. To push it further, somebody like I think running V on like with poison research, for instance, she could be on Venecleave, get behind people, infect everything. He's stunning things, and then she's just coming in to mop things up. So not everybody is going to have V, but you can run alternatives to do similar things.
There's definitely lots of things you can do, but again, currently I just don't think there's any content that requires to do all that. And the thing also, her key charge when it's at level 3. I don't know if people know it or not, but you can see it in game. But once you get to level 3, it's a 40% increase to physical damage, 200% special damage, and then her special cap gets a 32,000 boost. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. And then if you consume it to do the key alignment, she gets some stupid amounts of defenses. I think when I wasn't building any defenses, I got it up just to test it, and it got me over 4K on both my defense and mind. I was like, oh, yeah. All right.
At level 3, she gets 200 defense and mind.
And mind, yeah. So it's pretty meaty. She pretty much can't die, and her Proud Force hits get real juicy.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Moving on. All right, so on the arc, you know what? I'm actually going to pull it up here as well, just to make sure that there's no other main points. I mean, there's the Ether Reward, which I think is probably worth talking about. So this gives us Doppelhander as well, which right now I don't think matters, but eventually down the road, when we get another single-wheeled unit, it could be good. If you're running BB Shin, he doesn't have Doppelhander, so you can easily put it on BB Shin if you want to. And I think that probably, if I had to guess, BB Shin probably will end up coming in one of these unit updates, and if he gets an Enhanced 5 and they push him like they did Leona, he could actually become a solid single-wheeled unit again, like they originally intended. So putting Doppelhander on via this arc, plus if they give him some insane caps and maybe make his damage conversion better, give him passives to make Dark and Fire be comparable. So that could be a thing. So Doppelhander is a cool tool in the future, but right now not so much. And then the Arc Ether, Adventurer's Dog Tag, I think is really sweet. Like, giving you plus 1,000 HP, I think is the highest you can get on an accessory right now. So, just for raising HP, which then stacks with all your HP ups, that's pretty great. And then getting a 30% heal. Actually, I don't know how big the heal is. I just assumed it's probably like a heal to full. Or 30%, something like that, when you get below 70. But I assume you probably heal back up to full, most likely. So, I don't have it, so I cannot test it, but... just kind of having
that 30 seconds, and I will be telling you what that does.
Nice.
I just spent Ether Pot to get it because I know how important it is. Yeah, so while y'all were talking, I was like, man, I'm getting this Ether Arc. That's actually why I really wanted this arc.
That sounds great. So I think that in certain content, quite a bit actually, like instead of building an entire survivability kit, like there's some where the only option that you might have is to build some crit and proud force to get a little bit of sustain, and that's all you need for like multiplayer, maybe, or maybe just throwing on awaken, and as long as you have one awaken proc, or moon saber is an old skill that lets you get health back from your basic attacks. Like sometimes you just need a little survivability if you're not running a support for whatever content you're in, and this could just be the answer. Like you could probably throw this on and you probably just have enough survivability to get you over that hump and just be like, all right, everything else is dumping into damage. So
Yeah,
I think it's an excellent tool.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's once per wave.
Once per
Twice
wave.
per wave.
Twice per wave.
Twice per wave.
Yeah, twice per wave. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty excellent, I think. So I like it, and it'll also make people. It'll also make people annoying in an arena. So when you're trying to eat people's health all the way down, you better be insta killing them. Otherwise, they're gonna be fighting up more and more. We've already.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just gonna say, see, DK, you said you got it right, or you're under process?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's like 10%, guys. Yeah,
see
it's
if
very minimal.
See if it procs Spirit Breath.
Okay.
So
I mean, it wouldn't make a difference. It's not that big of a deal because really that's like 6 SET. But
yeah,
still, if it procs it's pretty nice, I guess.
Yeah, that would actually be incredible if it did. I can almost guarantee it doesn't, just because I've tested and I've never found anything that is triggered that would trigger it, that would like use it. It always needs to be an active effect. My suspicion,
I'd assume it won't.
Yeah, my suspicion is because it doesn't specify a percentage like most skills do in the game. It is probably like the equivalent to a small heal or or a medium level heal, which means it probably goes off mind. So the next thing to test is use it on a unit that has more mind than another, or jack up somebody's mind and see if the heal is larger. So it could be that it's best on mind-based units, so maybe you could have it on like a Theria, and then she doesn't have to actually heal herself. I mean, if you're just spamming Glass Record or something, she's going to be full up anyway, but you get it. People with mind, maybe it works better. All right. Backing out of that. Next on the agenda, let's talk about that new arc. How are you guys feeling about the new campaign content?
Ooh. Okay, I don't have much to say about story because I don't really watch stories. So if you guys want to, touch on that, you guys can go ahead. I'll just touch on the arc whenever we get to that.
Sure, yeah. So I also don't follow story too much, but I at least read, I paid attention to some of the story arcs. So spoilers, just because I don't know what exactly we're going to talk about. So if anybody doesn't want to know,
spoiler alert.
mute it for a minute. One of the first openings when you come in and you fight the zoo and you kill it, and like you're talking to the little kid, and he's just like, "You just killed the thing." He's like, "Oh no, I didn't kill it. It ran away really quickly." He's like, "No, you did." Like. It just screamed and then disappeared. Oh no, it just went really fast, and you thought that it did. It just ran away. No, like its bones are literally there, and it is dead. It is definitely dead over there. Yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was like, that's pretty funny. Kind of tickled me. Enjoyed it. So. I don't know. It made me be like, all right, well, maybe I got to give a little bit more credit to some of this stuff and pay attention in some of these story cutscenes, just because some silly humor like that is kind of fun to just switch things up. So
I like how Kyle's like this newfound, like everybody in the village is like, oh my god, this guy, his sword's so heavy. Like
what?
Yeah. Oh, you guys didn't. Oh, that's right. Y'all didn't listen to the story. That's right. So there's a specific scene. Spoiler: cover your ears, cover your eyes, mute your screen, whatever. It's actually not that big of a deal. But one of the guys bully Kyle, and they asked, he's like, "Oh, and fancy sword, probably, I could wield this just as good as you can." Well, he hands him the sword, and the guy can't lift it. So like they're asking,
what?
It's like almost like a Goku moment, like his scrawny arm. How does he fight so fast, so hard, right? So yeah, they basically bully Kyle in this village for the first like hour you're playing the story. They can't lift the sword, they can't swing it. They're wondering how he can with his little arms, and it's like a big highlight for Kyle, because like Kyle is like this, he's fought these things before, and no one, and in their village there's nobody who can defeat him. Leona's pretty much like the only person that can really defend it, and even she struggles. And then Kyle enters the scene and just boom, we're used to this. This is nothing. We take out the mez. Yeah, it's not a problem. So it's actually funny how they're putting like Kyle on this mantle right now. So I feel like he kind of needed it, right? The OG Kyle. I think just
Mm-hmm.
kind of forgot about him for a little bit. But yeah, so far I'm on chapter 7-5. So far, story is actually really, really interesting. Very, very long cutscenes. So if you guys are gonna get ready to read some stuff, but all very, very good information. They start giving us information on, what the new characters are going to be like. They introduce another line of heroes that they mentioned in the story as well. So I'm excited to see what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, anytime we see a new character, we're like, "Oh, new character, new character, new character." So yeah, so I'm pretty excited. Like I said, I'm no more near done with the story just yet, but I know a lot of people are finished. I don't know if they did it correctly by actually watching every scene.
Hmm.
But I didn't watch any of the subquests. I'll be fair with you guys. I didn't watch the subquests because it was pretty basic from there.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of subquests too. Like I was kind of
yes.
surprised. There was a ton of side quests to be able to do, so that was pretty great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was excited to see that we did get a totally new zone. Like there wasn't like a flip of like a multiverse alternative thing
Right.
where we had the same exact map but like new fog of war and like a color shift or something. Actually some new zones and things like that, so that's neat. It is a smaller map, but it was the first update, so I anticipate they're going to keep adding like mini zones in here, revealing like pulling away the clouds or something, and we're going to start branching out
Hmm.
more, see what's below the clouds, things like that. So yeah, yeah, good stuff as far as I've gotten.
One, I have one thing. Actually, I don't know if it'll spoil you, DK. I don't think it will. I don't know.
Hey, still.
I don't know if you want to cover your ears or not. I honestly have no idea. But one
Uh,
thing that me and I was in Discord in the voice chat with Wish, and he had mentioned how he thinks that where the first arc, like the first area, is the future, and where we're at now is the past. Is what he mentioned. I
Yeah,
didn't really ask him about too much details, but he said that that's what he feels that's
yeah.
going on.
I've heard that too, and I think that there's some compelling reasons for it. I haven't gotten deep into it, but I saw some other people streaming and reading through stuff and kind of talking about what's happening and speculating it. I think there's a case to be made for it, and it sounds pretty cool. I like that idea.
That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Not much to add.
Um, you want to talk on the new boss fight, the new free arc?
Ooh, sure. So the new boss fight's it's a three raid, three party system, and so there's three waves obviously, and get this, you can actually use your own fourth unit and not a support. So I thought that was the best thing about it.
Yeah.
No, but so there's three fights, first boss, second boss, third boss, and from my understanding is because I wasn't that far into the story, but from my understanding is you have to beat all of the world bosses, all the bounties like Mother and Galanova and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to beat the first arc, and then the subquest will pop up at the treasury, the ancient treasury. And yeah, so I don't know. It's the fight is pretty cool just because of the mechanics that they presented.
Do you
Um,
think that it is worthwhile to go into that fight blind, or do you think it's fine to just talk about what those mechanics are?
I mean, it's not like mechanics like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
pretty. It's just mechanics as in like, hey, you just have to do this.
Cool.
It's really simple.
Okay, sweet.
It's a mechanic, yes, but it's really simple. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I mean, if you guys want to go blind, I won't say
No, no,
anything.
it's fine, man. Go ahead.
Okay, so the first fight, it's magically immune.
Okay.
It is weak to dark, so dark units are preferable, but you can also use Trishula, so that you have that option. There are I think there's three checkpoints. 70% health. I think it'll do this huge light AOE that does the whole screen. It's pretty damn strong. Like I was running Emtheria and I had to stack um what was it Shadow Wall, Vitality, Etheria's S2, and just stack tons of HP on my units in order to even live. And if I so much as didn't use one of those buffs, it
Mm-hmm.
would wipe the whole team. So at 70%, it'll do that AoE, and that's the first check. And then I think at 50%, it starts doing this kind of like Halo thing. It's like a Halo move where it drops light on you and it does damage. Again, that isn't as strong, but you do still need a little bit of buffs on your units. And it'll keep doing that. And then there is another checkpoint at, I want to say it's 30%, where it does the same thing, another Halo.
Cool.
And then as soon as that 30% is up, you are able to, if you can time your break, you can break it and then nuke it all the way down. Because if you don't nuke it at 10, I want to say it's like 10% or 20%, it does that huge AoE move again. And I think it's even stronger, but you can break it and then just
Yeah.
nuke it down.
That's the pro
So
strat. You heard it
yeah.
here.
And then so that's the first fight. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. It's not that bad. So just use dark units or use Trishula on whoever your physical DPS is. It is magically immune, so keep that in mind. And then the second boss fight is actually it only takes magic damage and it's weak to light, and it's got checkpoints as well. But the second fight is actually it's really easy compared to the first and
All
the
right.
third one. So what I do is it has a checkpoint at 70%, and then I want to say it also has one at 50, and then one at 30. At 70%, it summons like an Alice drone,
Okay.
and they really don't do much. Like I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but I ran Lily and Senku, just those two units, and I was able to clear the fight. But at 70%, it summons an Alice, and then it just stands there. Like I don't even attack it. It just stands there. And then at 50%, I think it spawns some undead. They're like mini reapers.
Mm-hmm.
They also just stand there for a set period of time, and so you're able to wail on the boss, and then you can pretty much ignore them up until a certain point where they like attack you. But my Senku was able to tank it and just live through it. So it's got the 70% HP, and then it's got the 50%, and then there's another one at 30%. And then it doesn't do anything. I think it summons another Alice at 30%. I want to say, because I did see two. But essentially, you can just bring Lily or whoever your light magic DPS is, preferably Lily. Just in my case, I have the Holy Bolt. That's it's a
Yeah.
limited spell, but I just debuffed it. I did extremely bad chemical, shadow circle, high nemesis with Senku. Senku was my tank. I gave him all the allures, put him in one corner of the map, put Lily in the other one.
Never thought
Just
I'd hear
spam the Holy
Senku
Bolt.
tank. That's a thing.
Oh, he can tank. He can tank.
Yeah.
But
Does he have anything that helps him to tank since he has such an awful like HP pool, like a base HP pool? What does he have that makes Senku good for that?
Well, he doesn't have anything. The only thing that he has is where the more HP he has, the less damage he takes.
Oh, okay.
But what I did was I gave him Celestial Mass, and then from zero and whatnot. You can also give him like Spear Boost, Spear High Boost, Dragon's Blessing, just to mitigate physical damage.
Cool.
But so what I did is I just spam Holy Bolt, get it down to 70%, wait for it to take damage again, spam it down all the way to 50%, wait for it to take damage, yada yada yada. So you do that the whole fight, and the whole time you can ignore the ads. I mean, they'll go for Senku, but he's fine. He'll live. So you can just ignore the ads, just go for the boss.
Cool.
That's it.
Nice.
It's really simple.
Fun.
And then the third boss, it takes little to no damage from humans, as in soldiers, sorcerers, snipers, all those. So it takes little to no damage from them. It is elementally neutral, meaning it's got zero resist or whatever. So you can apply the circles and all that jazz.
Nice.
I was trying to apply weak, but I kept seeing it miss. So
Hmm.
you can Anula melt it because it also misses. But one thing I did notice was that Gaze of the End, that debuff applies, but not weak. Um,
Ah. I
so
wonder
skill de
if Robalo would as well, since hers is an on battle start effect that isn't technically weak, but just does the Giga weak effect.
it could.
So
I
yeah,
didn't try it.
it works like a slightly stronger beast at the end. So or gaze at the end.
And
So
then so you can apply circles or unit, element debuffs like Roy's and Espet. So you can apply those
cool.
and then make it elementally weak. And then the thing is you got to use units that aren't of the human typing. Like for instance, DB Ray, he's a god, Degro god, Luxay is a god. So anything that isn't a human, you can use those. The fight itself, its attacks seem relatively weak compared to the first one because the first one's nuke does feel like a lot of damage, but the second one does dark damage instead of light damage.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I was using Sevia and her ult to mitigate damage. So, but it's 50%, and then you just your standard like Blazer, La Stoma. Um, but it wasn't the fight itself isn't anything special either, aside from just you have to use units that aren't human. Other than that, just wail on it. You can apply simple debuffs and simple like holy wall and all those mitigation, and you'll be fine. The fight itself
Sweet.
isn't that hard.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, man. I mean, I am
Yeah.
excited to get in there because I have not actually gone and attempted it yet, but I'm excited. And then we get a sweet arc for it. So I was
Oh
very
yeah.
surprised when I first saw this. Like we've talked about before, hey, eventually they should have every element with a cap raise on a UR, probably neutral at some point. I never would have expected them to give us the neutral damage
Yeah.
cap raise arc for free in the base game achievement based type thing like that. It's great and I absolutely love it. So if you wanted to comment on that at all,
Yeah, I have it
go
pulled up on stream. So at level 10, when physically attacking, damage plus 40% if not hitting a weak attribute, and critical hits or Slayer effects do not activate. So,
your most neutral
you know,
damage.
yeah, pretty much. So if if you're not critting or Slayers or all that, which I mean, now that I think about it, like 40% is cool and all, but if it says it'll only activate if killer or slayer effects don't activate, I don't know. Slayers and special boost, it's more significant than the 40%. I mean, the 40% is nice, but I think this gets outclassed by the slayer slash special boost.
Yeah.
So that's the first part, and then the second part says 5 seconds after battle start, remove any SDR defense int mine debuffs from unit, excludes some debuffs. So that's pretty great. That's pretty cool. I'm assuming that would be great in arena or
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
So it does that, which is pretty neat. And then the third part, no attribute damage cap 2000%. So that's really great.
Yeah.
The stats on it are pretty nice. 2,405 HP, MP 26. It's pretty trash. Well, not trash, but it's on the low side. SDR 403, defense 404, int 67, and then mind 309.
Yeah.
So the stats, I say they're nice.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's really built for a bruiser, which is kind of what you're looking at. There's one unit that stands out pretty obviously to me as like wanting this arc, and I think everybody knows that's Baron, or Baron, or however you want to pronounce it. But he doesn't come with any slayers, right? Inherently.
No, not
Yeah,
that
I didn't think so. So you can build his slayers, but his damage in general seems quite competent to go up when you're not doing it. So especially if you just want to be lazy, like
right.
that's a lot of SC save though. Like even if you want to match a slayer and maybe you're just not quite hitting cap, this raises your cap and then pushes it up that little more while saving you 15 SC that could go towards making yourself a little tankier, or whatever it might be. Maybe you want to make some, I don't know, add some tech to make your goddess kisses better or something. I don't know. But I don't
Right.
know. I think it definitely has a place and seems pretty good. I'll run it on Braun for sure because I don't like building Slayers on him anyway because he hits Cat pretty easily without.
Yeah. Um, as for the skills, we have no attribute wall, no attribute damage to all allies, minus 20%. We got special boost. We also have skill 2 boost, ACT recovery speed minus 10%, and then damage plus 20% for the second skill. So that's pretty neat. Triple impact, holy aura, and then we have combo master 2. That one's nice. So my thing is skill 2 boost and then combo master 2.
Yeah. I think Combo Master 2 is probably a little bit tougher. You kind of still have to have a team. Like you have lots of hits going on, but it only takes
Right.
like a quarter second of not doing damage to reset it down to 0.
Yeah.
So like sometimes I'll just play casually and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm up over 200 hits. This is great." And then other times I'll actually be watching it and be like, "Oh, I stopped hitting things for a small time and now I'm back down to 0. This is pretty annoying." But Skill
It's
Charge 2 is pretty huge. I think
skill 2 boost.
Skill
Yeah.
boost,
4
thank
SC
you, yeah.
for 20% more damage. That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And we got Skill Boost 1 from Roy's arc, and I enjoy that a lot. I think that there are easy includes for Arena as well, just to kind of increase that neutral damage. So those skill boosts are just pretty great when, anybody that doesn't need to naturally recharge their skills, which in the current meta is most people. Like, I mean, Alice, I'm sure, would love a skill boost if she's not already capping for some reason. DeGrogue really loves it because her S2 is crazy as it is already. Like, there's a lot of really good S2s out there. Medine, that's her best skill. I think it's better than her S3 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Really? You think so?
I think so, yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's got more hits, and it just like drags and groups enemies, and it just it
Yeah,
just seems like it
that's
hits
true.
more.
Is this from an arena standpoint? I'm assuming?
I'm just talking.
really?
I'm
Or
just
just
talking in
both?
general. Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
talking in
okay.
general.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. I think her S2 is her best skill. But I mean, her S3 is really good, especially because it charges in as well. I think her S3 does more burst damage because the initial charge and then the like torrent explosion like both do a meaty
Right.
amount
Okay.
of damage. But over the duration of the time of the S2, I think the overall damage is higher. But I could be wrong. I haven't done
And-
thorough testing, but
S2 it's really hard to interrupt too. Versus S3, there's
Oh,
a couple animations in there.
on offense, it's silly in arena specifically.
Yeah, if you get, especially if you fill it all at battle start, you just send it in seconds, all three of them, and depending on whether someone's running anti-flinch, then it could destroy somebody within a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's also
Right, so
yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say combo master 2, 7 SC. It's lower than I thought it would have been. So 7 SC for 30% more damage, obviously at 50 hits or more, but I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty decent. I mean, it's the same rate as weak point boost, just has a different condition. So I think that
Right.
works. I think that's pretty good.
And then the Arc Ether reward, Equilibrium Sphere. It's got 300 HP, 100 STR, light, dark, and no attribute physical attack damage plus 15%. It's got 10 resistance to light and dark, and then you have resistance to blind and curse.
That's an insane ether reward.
Yeah, this thing is pretty great for free. You kidding me?
That's
the Arc
great.
And this, that's amazing.
Oh man,
I like this a lot.
that is worthy of a UR in my opinion. Like stats alone, that's pretty crazy. Like 100 strength, that's gonna get my Dante over 6K on my friend's screen. Score. But also like just a flat 15% to those particular type of units, which is awesome. And then all those resistances, like that's good. That's a meaty amount of value there. So love it.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth doing. If you can do it, it's really worth it. I
Awesome.
approve of this arc.
Nice. Well, moving on along the lines of boss fights and things that are a little bit challenging. Has either of you guys gotten into floors 81 to 90 on the updated tower?
Yes.
Right,
Let's
DK?
talk about it.
Chow, how far have you gotten?
I'm not doing tower because I saw the rewards for 80 to 90. No, fuck that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not messing with that. I'm just gonna do to 79 for the gems and then stop.
Zero,
Really?
the last I saw that you did climb a little bit. Did you ever get to the 81?
I haven't had a ton of time to focus on it, so
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
I just
Okay.
sort of passively ran stuff while I was working one day and just sort of clicked through every once in a while so I could
Right,
progress a
right.
little because we still didn't have a skip option for some reason. So
Right?
you still have to
Gotcha.
spend so freaking
Yeah,
long.
no, it was a long time, trust me. It was I kind of was getting bored. I was like, man, I got to do this every time. So yeah, I got to 87 yesterday on last night's stream. So far, yeah, the whole skipping the floors would be really really nice as it is kind of a drag to watch, Roy one shot everything over and over again through 80 floors.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, so 80 so the towers. Jaws is absolutely 100% right. Those rewards are awful, guys.
Well,
I mean,
yikes.
yeah, they are just
Trash, bro.
not worth it, man. I was
I can't
expecting
believe it.
so much more. I really couldn't either. So before I started playing Towers, I think Jaw actually had stepped into my stream on Thursday night when I was starting Towers, and he had
Hmm.
said that he wasn't going to do them because of the rewards. And I was actually really excited because I wanted to keep everything a surprise to me. So I didn't look up the question mark. I didn't look up
I was like,
anything.
whoops.
Yeah, so like I was like, yeah, I like that little surprise, but yeah, so I went ahead and just kind of did the first one, right? And the first one was a surprise because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I said, we've all been trained to like play this game a certain way, and
Right.
in those towers, 81, that is not the time to play like that. You have to organize your team based on the elements that are required for that fight, which can be character specific. But once I actually got into the craziest part is the 3 minute mark. You have 3 minutes to knock out really, really high tier characters, which can be really tough for most players. Considering that I did struggle on it until I figured it out, which even when I did figure it out, I barely survived with, I think, 45 seconds left on the clock. And that's because I put in everything I had. So it is element specific on some of the fights. But when I finally beat, floor 81, oh my gosh, was I disappointed. I mean, I was like sweating. My hands were sweating from holding the mouse, and I'm just like, "Are you serious, man? I could have literally spent 5 minutes in a multiplayer match and not even used stamina. I could have just spent 5 minutes in there, grabbed a
Yeah.
single cluster, and left. I mean, it was. There's no lights, none of the newer mats. It's just
Isn't it
clusters.
just phantom metals?
It's phantom metals, clusters, and then oh my
It does have
gosh.
mega clusters at least. So like,
Yeah, it's mega clusters, phantom metals, and armor
Armor
shards,
stones or
armor
shards? Yeah.
stones, and sword stones. There's no crystals, there's no new lights,
yeah.
there's no mother souls, which baffled the crap out of me. I was expecting at least 50 to 100 mother souls, at least an 85. I think I got a purple cluster, mega cluster on 85. With that said, it does bring back, and like we were saying earlier, we were saying how I feel like A is trying to bring back more of an RPG element where we're running specific characters for certain fights, and we kind of
Hmm.
have to adapt to them. That's where I had the most fun in the towers. Was if you're really a diehard RPG fan, you're gonna really enjoy that that part of the game where you're having to adapt. And it's kind of similar to what Jawline was fighting, and then for the new UR arc, you kind of have to specifically learn what the fight was and then adapt to it. So basically, it's like that. And I haven't got to fight the UR because my game crashed today several times during it, so I gave up for the day. Yeah, so yeah, but the towers. If you love the challenge, absolutely. But if you're going for rewards, don't expect anything great. It's just not there, and you're not.
Yeah.
Which I think most people will go for the challenge itself, like I did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's kind of my plan. Is I want to experience at least once because I'm in
exactly.
agreement where like I think Last Cloudy is at its best when you're significantly challenged and you struggle to solve the puzzle. When things are truly hard and then you can overcome it, it feels really great. Especially like the more limited your account is too. Like if you just don't have all the best things, but you have like enough to kind of work through and figure something out, feels really good. But also I want to get through at least once because I'm I'm starving for them rainbow mega clusters, man. So like, I don't think that it's worth my time to go and do it every time tower comes back, unless they decide to update it next time and be like, hey guys, we screwed up these rewards. It's gonna be better for the climb next time. Then I'll be happy to go and do that. But also a reminder to people, since those basic resources that you can buy in the tower shop refresh every time, it means every time we get back tower for basically no effort, there you can get a rainbow mega cluster and one of the other mega clusters because you can get it out of the tower shop. So if you have a surplus of coins, it's a free mega cluster.
Yeah.
So
I would prioritize the radiances though. I'm
Yes,
probably gonna do it
Sure.
just to get the
Yeah.
radiances.
yeah, I guess I had enough saved up because there's been no reason to spend anything in Phantom Tower, so I was like, yeah, I'll get all those and the rainbow cluster. But yeah, the radiance is also important, so just a reminder to anybody, since it is time gated and refreshes every
Yeah.
time, get it while it's there.
I mean, you can
Worthwhile
farm
reason.
the rainbows, the megas, and all that, but you can't farm radiances.
Yeah,
I think those should be top priority, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
yeah, absolutely, for sure. I just have an awful time with drop rates on the rainbows. I think I've gotten one ever. Everything else I've gotten given to me from the other resources, friend shop and
What? Real?
tower and
No.
everything else. I just don't get them to drop. They don't.
Holy.
I feel like I get the actual colored ones like almost
Uh-huh.
consistently. I get like one every single run. Like I almost never whiff completely, but getting rainbows to drop feels impossible. I don't know why. It's terrible. I don't know why. It
crazy.
just feels really bad, man. Feels real bad. All right, hold on. We got a question here. Let me see what we actually got. I'm about to take on tower for the first time. Roy is itching for it. Yeah, that's going to be good. Also managed to get Leona. Question, do we only have to clear floor 80 for the tower arc? Yes. Yes, that is the clear reward for 80. So, yeah, absolutely. Go get it because it's a worthwhile arc.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, touching base on the Phantom Metals, even on 81 through 90, you're only getting, I think, a little over 200 total.
The fuck?
Yeah,
Really?
so yeah, because it's so floor 81 is 20, 82 is 20, 83 is 20, 84 is 20, 85 is 20. Oh, I'm sorry, 50, 86 is 20, 87 is 20, 88
Wow.
is 20, 89 is 20, and 90
Wow.
is 50. So yeah,
You want me to do tower with that? Hell no.
You will barely get enough for a cluster. You will not get enough for a radiance.
Wow, that's insane. Like when you said
so-
200, I thought like, oh well, okay, so 200 per floor, so that's good. That's
Oh,
gonna end up
200
being like
per floor,
1,000.
that
Like,
would be nice.
okay, then it could be like this is what funds you getting all of the radiances every cycle. You know,
Right.
Like that
Yeah.
could be a little more justifiable. God, that is.
Yeah.
That is probably as idiotic as them giving us all of the old characters as special banners.
That was
Oh
bad.
no.
Hey guys,
Oh,
give
man.
give us your money. Come get all our busted units that we kind of fixed a little bit.
Yeah, no. And like I said, they're not gonna be as easy for I might even say it was easy for me, but or has been easy for me because I haven't completed it yet. But for other players that are in that middle area where they're kind of still learning the game and stuff, they're gonna struggle a lot trying to get there. But like the way I look at it is, if for a veteran player, definitely try it once. I definitely would not do it again. Coming from somebody who does towers every season that it comes out, or whatever, every month it comes out, I do the full 80. I have a blast doing it, but I don't see myself going through 81 through 90 again after this one time, until the rewards get upped a little bit, or actually no, significantly
Yeah.
up. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times 5 of those rewards or something.
yeah, something.
Absolutely.
I think when
When
we talked
you-
about it earlier, we were saying how we wanted the lights because they're so hard to obtain, and I cannot believe that we don't have those in there.
Right? Come on,
That-
man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, ludicrous.
I mean,
Disappointed.
it's nice that we get in the shop, but come on,
Right.
not giving us from the actual floors.
But they're super expensive. I think they're 1,500 per
1,500.
light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're worth. They're
Yeah.
worth. You're gonna need 'em.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're right.
So speaking of that, somebody in chat asked, do we have any idea roughly how many characters we're actually able to upgrade with the current radiances in the game? Like, we know that certain resources refresh monthly. So, like, there's some set ones, like one of each color per month based on, like, friend shop, whenever tower comes around. Free
Right.
ones. But do we have a rough idea of, like, how many radiances there are total?
Mm,
Any
Shop?
idea?
as in, like, we can get every
Like,
refresh, or
like up to this point, I guess. Just basically, somebody just
um,
asked how many characters were limited to.
Oh, yeah. So I think you can get about, let me see, 3, 6, 9, 12, maybe 15 characters or more that you can do right now if you
That sounds
wanted to
about right.
awaken 5. Yeah, it's about, yeah, I would say about either like a full, like somebody's, like mine's like a 2-year roster. I would probably do half of it with the new amount that we've gotten. So
really?
yeah,
Huh.
because right now I'm still sitting. I think I have 5. I think I have 5 of the light ones, 4 of the blue ones, and 4 of the purple ones still. And I have one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people at 5 star right now.
Yeah, and that also depends on if you have the right units that you want to level up that use the proper radiances, obviously. So you can't do, 10 of them that take the dark radiances because
Yeah,
we
I'm
only have
sorry.
Right.
so many. So it is split up kind of evenly. So you got to pick and choose and be wise.
Right.
But either
Okay.
way, like there's no specific cap. Like every month we're gonna get a little bit more, and then
Exactly.
as we get events, we're gonna get more opportunities for radiances out of shops and trading spaces, like all that sort of stuff. So like eventually, if you're playing long enough, you can probably get everybody leveled up if you feel like it.
Right.
So there's a lot of sources for it, kind of, but they are limited. So
Yeah. Right now I have five, or I mean 8 units that are fifth enhanced, and then I have three light radiances, one otherworldly, and two visionary, and then I still got to get the three from the tower. So they give you they give you a good, they've given a good amount. Should you
It's a
use
lot of
all of
grinding.
them?
yeah.
Yeah, should you use all of them? That's another question.
Yeah, but I will say that with how expensive they are in tower, you have to pick which ones you want because
Right.
you will not get all three every time. Like maybe for the first tower or two if you have a surplus, but you don't
Mhm.
get 4,500 out of tower. You should. Maybe if you get to
What?
90, give you 4,500. That'd be great. Like total, so that would be good. So that's a little annoying. Hopefully, Adis sees people's complaints and probably is going to see numbers that not many people are even attempting it, depending on what kind of tracking data they have going on. And hopefully,
Yeah.
they make it more worthwhile. I was really hoping that we would have another arc or a unit or something tied to beating 90. But yeah,
That would have been nice.
yeah. So hopefully,
Um, Wanted to say that if anyone plans on, wanting to enhance all the units for whatever reason, just know that you're gonna need a lot of worldly radiances, because a lot of the units needed light of the worlds.
yeah.
So tons of those you're gonna need.
Well, there you go. Prioritize the worldly ones more. Boom. All right. So, speaking of things that we don't really like, or some people don't like, there's been a little bit of a hot topic since Leona's come out. So, I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, and that is DOH in general. Like, obviously, we have significantly more DOH and collab characters coming out than general pool units, and there's a significant amount of the community that's pretty frustrated, thinks that it's really, really bad for the game, and totally understand the logic, and I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that topic.
Go ahead, DK.
Hmm.
So let me think here. So are we talking about general versus DOH?
Yeah, basically just new characters coming out and having like 90% of them be DOH instead of general pool.
I really hope not. I mean,
Well,
I
it
guess
is
we
right
can't
now.
really.
Like,
Yeah, it is right. No, it is right now.
As
That's
of
what he's
right now, I
saying.
thought you
But
meant
yeah, I mean,
future. Gotcha. I
yeah,
no,
I
no,
got
mean,
no.
this year we've had what, three, I think, general pool units that we've gotten, and we've
Oh
gotten
God,
probably
yeah,
like we've gotten like 10 to 15 DOH units. Like it's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I guess I really think about it like that. Because I guess I've been getting really lucky with the units, so it hasn't affected me too much. But yeah, no, you're right. I was really hoping for the non-limit. I mean, yeah, a general pool character to be for this update, but when they launched the DOH, I'm like, dang it, another limited, which means that I'll have a chance to get her now and then probably several months down the road when they have like their 2.5 anniversary or something like that, I'll have another chance. But I feel like a little trapped. I feel like I'm even accumulating a lot of the tickets right now because I have an itch to use them, but there's nothing to use them for, as I do have all the general characters already. But Yeah, ease up, man. Like, there's no easy way to put it. Like, we need we're running out of crystals with these units. And let's get into the whole like, I mean, general pull. I mean, if you're gonna release a DOH, like, don't drown the DOH pool with older characters too, and then release a banner that has the general characters in it again, so you waste more crystals. And it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It was very upsetting when I opened up my game that morning and saw that they had like a separate banner for two different types of characters at different rate. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all really trying to lose players by doing that? I mean, a normal player would come in and be like, "Oh yeah, cool banner, right?" Someone who doesn't know better is gonna come in and summon on that, right? And I guess it's like up to us, like the higher ends of the community, to like, hey man, like no, 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 those characters will come eventually, pull for the DOH, but not a lot of people know that. So, and like I said, that's like the most trappiest thing I've ever seen them do, in a while. But yeah, we need more. Need to concentrate more on. Let's get some more non-limited characters in here. I don't know. Yeah, let's try to stay away from the DOH pool
Sure.
because even I'm getting sick of it because when we just had a collab or whatever that you want to call that, 2 week, and then right after that we had Alice, and then right after that and a week later they brought in they re-brought Tink Kelly and Lila again, swimsuit Lila, and then right after that Leona. I'm like, God, guys,
Yeah.
right? It's just too much.
So, Jawline, what do you think on this whole thing? Are you in alignment with DK?
Yeah, honestly, as much as I love the game and as much as I loved, starting it and over the time, yeah, it's the pool. It's like it's kind of infuriating that it's like that it is not that it's like that it is the situation where 90% of the units that are currently out are limited. You know, whether they're DOH, yeah, they're still semi-limited, because they eventually will come back, right? But they're still limited. Um, I don't know. I never really looked too much into it. At this point, I honestly don't care because it's like, at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they want to do, whatever makes them money. And
Yeah.
if they think that back to back to back to back limited units, DOH is gonna make them money, I mean, we can't really do much about that. The best we could do, if we really wanted to, as a community, would be to, I don't know, boycott spending for like, I don't know, a period of time, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. But as it stands now, I I don't care what they come out with because I don't need them.
Yeah.
I don't need Leona. I pulled just because I pulled, but I can understand why people are mad. Especially
Yeah.
if like maybe mid game or early players are like starting to play and they see that, hey, it's a lot of limited units. Who do I save for? Who do I pull? All these great units are coming out, but the general pool is still the general. I mean, you have Medine and Glukiel and stuff like that, but you got a handful of units that stick out from the general pool versus the rest of the pool just
Yeah.
not being so great. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care what. I mean, I don't like what they're doing, but at this
Yeah.
point, I just don't care what they do.
Yeah, and I think I'm probably of the most unpopular opinion of this, so this will be fun.
Oh God.
So I also don't think that it is good, but I don't think that it is nearly as catastrophic as some people make it out to be. And the reason being is that they put so much more hype and emphasis on Descent of Heroes to the point that they actually rerun them like 1 or 2 times a year. So like DeGrobe came out this year. She then got a
Right.
rerun already this year. So if we look at how many opportunities somebody got, if like say you started late and you want DeGrogue, you're actually able to get her because she's in DOH. If you'd missed Medine and you want her, when do you think we're getting a Medine rerun? Probably
Right,
not
yeah.
often. And we are hella diluted in the general pool.
Hello, diluted. Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And I don't foresee them updating how the general pool functions anytime soon because it should be different, I think. And I think we talked on that a little bit before. But, these units, when we get a new general, if you don't get it right away when it's on banner by spending a bunch of money, they're harder to get than DOH units. Like, yeah, you maybe will hit that like 0.01% chance and get them off of a general pool ticket sometime. Or maybe you'll get it when you're going for something else. But if you specifically want certain units, like you just flat out over the course of a year probably have more odds of getting what you want than if they're a general pool unit. So that's my feeling on it. I do think that if they updated and actually made it more reliable to get, like, just make the general pools better, it would be much better to have, more general pool units and give us some way of pitying things better or whatever. There's a lot of different things we can do with the Gatcha system to be more ideal. But with how it currently sits, I feel almost better when I get a DOH unit, because I know that if I miss out and luck doesn't go in my favor, I could probably save up and try again if I really want them to. Whereas, like, I can't go get somebody else. If I really want a Golroth, which I don't, but if I wanted him, I probably don't have much of an avenue aside from eventually if they do one of the, like, free unit tickets or something from, like, the types of things that they do. And another point that I do think makes it a little bit better is DOH arcs used to be their own pool, which really sucked. So now when we get a new DOH unit, at least we get a new arc that is in the general pool. So that's nice. It just doesn't help units, So...
Wait, say that again.
The arcs for DOH units used to be exclusive to DOH banners. The only way to get them was during a DOH banner. But, like, end of last year or beginning of this year, they made it so that all of the DOH arcs came into the general pool. It didn't used to be that way. Like, if you wanted Militia of the Departed, you could only get it when rolling on a DOH banner.
Oh, really?
Because it was tied to Zykes. Yeah. So originally, that's what it used to be.
I thought it was always when they came out, and that arc was like, oh, so that arc wasn't in the pool. You had to get it from.
Well, no, the arc, no, it was put into the DOH general background pool as well. So, like, if you're rolling on Advocate of God Lily, all of the old DOH arcs are in that pool. But when it's gone and you just have a new general pool unit, those arcs were unavailable. Like, you could only get every DOH one, and, like, Silver-Haired Swordsman, like, that was tied to Bayland. So only when any DOH banner was up did you have access to it. You either needed to get it as on banner or from the general pool that then included those arcs as well. But they changed that at some point.
No, I thought it was always as soon as, like, any new unit that came out that wasn't, collab or, like, pretty much collab, or UR, that came with the UR. I thought it was always under the impression when they came out, that arc was in the general pool where, like, let's say there's, I don't know, just for example, there's Balin and then there's Maddie. Let's say you pull on Maddie, you have a chance to pull, Balin's arc. I thought that was always the case, because I was always told that whenever the DOH came out and they just came with the SSR, you could use tickets to get them.
Yeah, that's how it's been lately. But I got Cass in chat as well saying that's how it was. It was limited. It was last year though. I mean, it could have even been as early as, like, halfway through last year that it changed. It was not a recent change, but it did long ago used to be that way. Because I remember when I was rolling for somebody else, probably like Roland, and I got one of those off arcs, and I was like, I didn't even know this existed. And then I went through and looked, and I was like, oh, there's a whole, like, group of arcs that's here that's not available normally. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm never getting any of those ones because they must be all the limited ones. But yeah, I think they actually had, like, a patch note thing at some point where they said they were adding all of the DOH stuff into the general pool, and then, like, everything moving forward would be in the general pool. So let's see. Cass just said, they added them after Lily. Right about Lily.
Oh,
so Advocate of God Lily, maybe, I'm assuming.
All right.
So it was a while ago at this point, so it just kind of seems like a commonplace of when a new unit comes out, everything's in the general pool, but at one point it wasn't. So I think that at least is good, so those aren't being locked up when things are DOH.
I never knew. Like I said, I thought it was I was under the impression where it just, they just released everywhere or whatever in the general too.
Now, along those lines, something that would be very nice is even if they made the rates even lower than units now, I would love if they did something like every time we have a DOH, the background pool of units is limited to DOH units. Like, it could be lower
Right.
odds even. I wouldn't care, but it'd be nice if like you have a chance at getting an old like Zykes or OG Lily or Eliza or even maybe Zekis or Theria if you're lucky. So it would be nice if when they have super DOH, they're actually pretty super. And they're not. They're just kind of DOH banners with like maybe a
Right.
small bonus on it. But anyway, so that's my hot side take on it. I know that's probably not super agreeable, but I think DOH in general.
It's a fair one. It's a fair
Yeah.
opinion. When you actually think about it like that, when you think about like how it see, I'm with Jawline. Like I remember it, but it didn't affect me so much to where it meant like mentally it was like, oh damn. So I got Balin's arc when I got Balin. I'm an arc magnet for some reason. I get the arc, so I guess it really didn't affect me until like even when as you're saying this right now, I'm like, oh, I guess you were right. Like there was arcs that, because I remember even back then I wouldn't even look through the general pool to see what was in there. I would just assume that they were. But one time I did go in there and I noticed that Balin's arc wasn't in there, in the general pool. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it is specific, to the DOH banner. So no. I 100% agree. I'm glad that we're now getting, especially we're like, oh, if I don't get the DOH, we all know that the arc will be in the general pool, so at least we could get something new, to help out our units. But yeah, that's
Yes. Scorba brings up a point. He says that we got rushed to catch up with JP, so we had DOH banners, quickly in succession. So I guess it just happened so fast that I just never noticed, or I never knew about it.
Absolutely.
So that's probably the case for me.
Yeah, makes
Like,
sense.
I was just makes sense.
But yeah, anyway, so main argument is DOH gets rerun much more than general pool. So if you want something, you're more likely to get it. But it would be nice if maybe even we just got some, like, more general pool units would be good, because at least there's more stuff to potentially maybe have a small chance of getting when you burn all your tickets and stuff. But we really need that pool to be cycling, maybe. Like,
and if sorry, go ahead.
No, finish. Go ahead, man. You're good.
I was gonna say, and if we don't, maybe they don't want to give, like a general, maybe just do another thing like they did, Zilorge, or however you say his name, tie it behind some kind of quest, another free unit. Maybe he's not amazing, but it's a free unit, I suppose.
Yeah, would
So
be
there's that.
Would be pretty nice.
But yeah, DOH is too much. It's just it's taking over everything.
Yeah, it feels like that's just kind of the standard. Like, the fact that it's semi-limited is not as bad, but it's still annoying because it's hard when you're sitting on a stack of tickets. It's really tough to get excited.
Right.
I mean, usually there's some arc you probably don't quite have yet, unless you're a whale and you can get them when a new banner comes out. But
maybe if they did some kind of DOH ticket in the Crimson Shop for like the future banners or something like that, you know what I mean? Maybe that could help out too.
Yeah,
and I feel like that'd be really great. Instead of just spending all your, let's say you do want a unit, you would spend it on just a general, from the general pool. So yeah, maybe that's something they can look into, for the future. A DOH ticket in Crimson Shop once a month, something like that.
maybe. Yeah.
It'd be like a pity, a guest pity, right?
Yeah, I mean, better pity in general.
Yeah, it would be like a lottery pity or something like that. You can use for
A lottery pity.
And actually, something else that I would really love them to put in the game that I think could solve the diluted pool a lot is have you guys ever played AFK Arena?
I think I tried it once.
Okay, yeah, it's fine as an idle game, but it has like the most hilariously cringe ads out there. But they have some systems that are really, really clean and good. And one of them is you can go in and you can set characters to be on your wish list. So you can set like 10 units or like 5 of each type of unit, like maybe 5 sorcerers and 5 soldiers or something, like things that are in a general pool. And so when you're getting off banner things, it is weighted to be things that are on your wish list. So like instead of being like a 0.12% chance, those ones might be like a 0.01, like a 0.5 chance instead or something. So like it's still small, but you have a greater chance of getting some crap that you want. So it'd be kind of nice if we could go and maybe mark like up to 3 units or 3 arcs to be like slightly weighted so that if we don't hit on banner, we at least could go and have a better chance of getting things we do give a shit about. So I'd love if they did something like that. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, I feel like with all these DOH coming out, I feel like just the DOH itself, like it just doesn't carry as much weight. Obviously, Luxeus is completely different, but I don't know. I feel like it's just another DO. Whenever another one
Yeah.
comes out, I'm just like, oh, it's just another DOH.
Yeah, it used
Instead
to
of
mean something before.
yeah,
Like
it was like, oh shit, DOH, like
Yeah.
Valand, like oh man,
well, beginning of the game, we just got showered with new units. It would be like
Yeah.
Vaughn, and then Celios was like next, and then Thunderbolt Sevio was after that, and then I think Logio was shortly after that. Like it was just bop, 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 but and then they'd sprinkle in after a few general units, there'd be DOH, and we'd be like, oh shit, this
Right.
is a thing. And
Yeah.
it just was like a bombshell coming in when it's just like, okay, what is up with this DOH thing? Because we know they're going to be stupid power crept over everything else. And, that's the time to get excited for. And it was like, oh, save for DOH. And now it's just like, DOH is just a standard unit release, basically.
yeah, right, pretty much, yeah.
So, yeah, it's lost some flair. So they lose a little bit of hype there as well. Like, people are still going to spend money if they were planning on spending money. But I think there's something to be said about the loss of hype for how much we get hit with it. Like, collabs are the new DOH, really. Since
Yeah,
they're
pretty
they're
much,
rare, and people know to look for them.
Slime rerun when?
Right.
I would love to
The
see some
next
slime.
one?
I would love to see some slime buffs because, yeah, of
No
all the
one needs 'em.
collabs, they need it.
Give my baby girl like 10 more cap or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
she did pretty good in that fight. All right, I used Lug, Milim, and the Grog. I was more excited to use Milim than all the other ones. I was like, hell yeah, I haven't used her since I got her. So, I don't know, give her 5 more cap shit. I don't know.
yeah.
But I'm excited for that. Anyways,
Yeah, that'll be cool. I've always wanted to have Rimuru be better than he was. Like, I mean, he was my first good mage, so I love him in general, and I still think, other than Zekis, he's probably the tankiest mage we have. Like, he's really, really resilient, but damage-wise, it was just like a slap to the face when lag come out right after, and they're like, oh, literally everything that's good about Rimuru, damage-wise, straight up better on lag.
or Rim.
Yeah,
Last.
yeah. So I'm hoping. I was so disappointed with Rim as well, just because the way that he was set up, he looked to be one of the first true like hybrid physical to magic dealing things, where like you can kind of swap between and be dealing good physical damage and then also magic damage and like alternating between and kind of doing that dance. But his physical attacks were pretty garbage. Like I tried to build him, it just didn't feel good. But maybe if I tried again with what I know now and the tools I have now, maybe it's not so bad. But
There you go. Make him great again. Or someone great.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, trying to see, guys. The big chat, the walls of text and chat. Hard for me to get through without pausing too much. So I don't
Go
really
ahead.
want to pause on the podcast too much. Are there any other topics you guys wanted to talk on while I read through some of these?
I don't know if you got anything, DK, while I think of some as well.
I mean, like there's only little things that I've done so far with this new update, like the towers was like the main thing that I started with first. I just started the story. I mean, actually, one of the guys in chat was asking about level 85 of the trial. I mean, yeah, the towers. Just to answer that question real quick, because I didn't want to interrupt anybody, or I didn't want to like text it all in chat too, because I mean that can take forever. I did put in that I did use Nero, DB Ray, Guardian Luke, and Theria. I believe I used Ice Circle to weaken the resistances of lightning, but also the biggest part is, and thank you Tweaks for this if you're watching or later. He actually, and I didn't know this, but whenever the wall of water does drop from Kraken. It is a Kraken fight, just to be fair. That wall of water is, what he said to me, was a non-attribute. So non-attribute wall for Theria, from Theria will actually benefit you highly in that. Also survivability, make sure you're running Awaken from 0, something that's going to keep you guys alive, because it does kind of steadily hit you instead of just nuking your health bar completely. Also, the cheese method with Guardian, Luke, and Great War of Ruin comes in crazy clutch. So if you have that, run that as well. But also another thing I noticed that DB's race survivability in that fight is really, really good. Nero's is okay. It's just kind of like that back burner. The Helter Skelter is a really good nuke for some health. And then you have Guardian doing her thing. Um, and then Theria with her debuffs. I do run this. I forgot the name. The chemical where it lowers her defense and
Yeah.
magic defense, INT, and strength. I run both of those on Theria so that we can debuff the enemy as well. So
Yeah.
just a lot. Yeah, I feel like we're in this area on those towers, man, where you really have to like debuff, and that's what you were saying
Mm-hmm.
earlier, Jawline, is that we have to you're concentrating on debuffs now and making sure that this works and that works so that your characters can do more damage. So and that's what people are struggling in towers now because they're not used to that because of dual wield and Trish. So yeah, just when you start thinking outside the box on these fights, it become a lot easier. So yeah, whenever you go into towers, don't even try to beat it first. Go ahead and monitor what they do, all the resistances, figure out ways to lower them, and to even more what they already are, and then try to keep your characters alive. Now I feel like survivability has been like a huge thing for me lately. The whole dust combo, several other things that people are using. What is that, Stone World? I think I've used that a couple times. Um, so yeah, you got to think outside the box of these newer fights and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, if you're having trouble, try that. The Ice Circle does come in clutch too. That's one thing I never use until later this past year with when I try to do the Logue fight. On the last chapter in under a minute and 30 seconds, me and Tweak spent a couple hours doing that on stream one time and to see who could get the lowest lowest time. But and of course he did. But yeah, those circles come in clutch, man, to lower the resistances of these bosses. So you'll see better results with them.
Yeah, and I don't think it can possibly be overstated how important debuffs in general are. Not even at that highest level of floor, but for a lot of other content too, boss fights, multiplayer, like everything. Being able to throw on debuffs helps your survivability so much as well. Like you were talking about the Kraken fight. I haven't done the one in Tower, but assuming that it works similar to the multiplayer fight,
Very similar.
like
Very
just
similar.
before the wave and at certain intervals, the Kraken gets buffs put on himself, and I think they're probably like a plus 50% to all of his stats. So like counteracting that is huge because the boss's stats are really, really meaty. So knocking 20% off of it and getting their strength closer to your defense or their int closer to your mind, like the way that the damage calculation works, it's not just like, oh, we're gonna reduce damage by 20% because I nerfed your strength by 20%. Like it's far more significant. You can have Pablo go from one-shotting you to doing half of your health.
Right.
Like, it is crazy. With a basic Blazer buff, if you got anything stronger, it can do even more. And if you're using Gen, like if you happen to have him in those fights, what I do is when they come in, I stop debuffing, and I just use physical attacks with dual wield, because he has that chance to flip to negative. So if they have a plus 50%, you instead apply your own negative debuff to them, and then like he literally does like 5% health to you. Like it's really obscene when you can just flip their defenses on them like that. And yeah, so debuffing's a thing. It doesn't matter when you're going through the core campaign, but eventually, if you're dying a lot, it's because you're not doing deep buffs and personal buffs enough. So
And also pay
Yes.
attention to the characters also debuffing you now. So I mean the enemy. So also Kraken, I believe, is poisonous venomous rain or poison rain that drops. It actually lowers your MND and defense, so it makes you more successful to death. So that's another thing you can either do. I forgot what she has, but you can actually clear that. But there's not enough time to clear everybody's debuff, so you have to. That's where the survivability comes in. You have to find another way to keep yourself alive during that process, because at some point you're just gonna have to eat it. Unlike multiplayer, you can just concentrate on yourself to keep yourself alive. And in towers, the problem is you got to concentrate on the entire team because it's just you. So yeah, and then the fact that he does it twice in one wave before he actually drops the waterfall, that's what, because you basically have to time it perfectly, and sometimes he'll beat you to the punch.
yeah.
So you see yourself drop. So yeah.
You also bring up a good point of like another utility that we can get in like another power creep support is like an AoE team cleanse, like lift all debuffs off your allies. Like
Yes.
be pretty sweet unique magic to throw on somebody. Or if we get that on an arc, that sounds like collab worthy arc type fodder, you know?
Yeah, give him ideas, Zero.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get some stuff.
Another LR arc I have to chase, man. I swear. Yes, no, honestly, if like something like that were to come out, that's a chase, 100%. Because with what's happening these days, with a lot of these characters debuffing us on the fly, and and it's really hard to pay attention to, especially everything that's going on. You're monitoring for characters, you're watching the hit caps, you're making sure you're doing damage. But that little one thing that you're not watching is your own stat debuffs that the enemy's casting on you. Pay attention to that, even because you can stop the game in towers. Go ahead and stop the game. Spend a couple of minutes looking at everybody's debuffs, who has what on, what the enemy has on, what his debuffs are, and then kind of move on from there. That's going to benefit you like 100% in the floors 81 through 90. Just take your time with it. Don't rush it. Pay attention to each fight, and I think everybody's going to do just fine on it.
Yeah. I do want to comment on something here. Freakazoid in chat just said like one of his biggest problems with units like Lug that are so like luxury and hit those big numbers is that, you know, we have things like that, but we don't really have a ton of content that's like where you really need heroes like him.
Yeah.
And I guess my comment on that is I think that it's probably a good thing, because if they required Lug power levels for things, new units would have to be power crept thoroughly. Like they would have to be creeping everything else, and then other things wouldn't be able to compete anymore. So what you do get with Lug though is if you have that proper setup and you can have it, you can kill things much quicker. And in LC, most of the time, the biggest hurdle, like, you're fighting with time. You're trying to cheat yourself into having more skills over time, have them do less things. So if you can kill a boss 2 seconds faster, like, you having Lug could make that run miles easier than somebody that doesn't have it, just because you were 2%, like, you were 2 seconds quicker on getting to a damage phase or breaking or like finishing a fight, when other people maybe didn't quite have enough, and you end up getting wiped, you know, and then you have to try again, reconfigure your team. So I think those luxury units, like, yeah, they're not completely necessary, but it does help you to get through content easier. So I think that's where the balance should be, personally. Because I don't know. I guess maybe those fights take 0 brain power when you have Lug, but the way that people have been talking about it, I feel like even if you have Lug with a perfect setup, you still need to think about those fights, and he's not an instant win button, you know?
Yeah.
So I think content seems like it's balanced around stuff enough that, like, he will make your time much, much easier in the game, but, you know, he's not so OP busted that, like, we need different content that's scaled much, much harder. Though I'm all for getting harder and harder challenges in general. I'd never argue against that. Not everybody.
Not if the rewards are shit like Tower.
Exactly. It has to be worthwhile, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so...
Like this new UR? Yeah, totally. Well worth the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, I welcome
oh my
those
gosh,
any day.
yeah, you're right, man. We had the new UR, and it's, you know, you said it was tough, but not as tough, and then we got in this really tough tower area, and we're getting
right.
mega clusters.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
No, I agree with that 100%. So yeah, hopefully they do something with that, because it's a necessary thing. They're definitely gonna see numbers next time they release the towers. If they don't add anything, they're definitely gonna see numbers dropping to people completing them.
Yeah. One of the ideas that I had before, I was just spitballing with some people the other day, maybe it was even on Reddit, where they asked what types of things we'd like to see in the game, and I had mentioned, I think maybe last podcast, of like a roguelike type element might be kind of cool, but also just like a horde type wave thing, like something that is progressively harder and is more or less infinite, and then like you get scaling rewards depending on how deep you get. Like, if you could go into an infinite dungeon and say, oh, I was able to get up to like wave 226, and then like somebody else is just like, oh no, I'm currently on the leaderboard for this season at making it up to like 318, and like those leaderboards could reset like every season, and maybe they have like a passive bonus that encourages you to use like ice units and mages and something else, and like make it so that people have to have a varied roster, and then like just see how incredibly deep you can go to just be able to like flex on people and gain rewards. Like, maybe after a certain point, it's like diminishing rewards. So it's like, okay, right, a reasonable endgame account could get to like floor 100 or floor 150, but other people will get like extra mother souls or unit souls or I don't know, whatever it might be that makes sense. Every 50 floors after that, or I don't know what it would be.
What do
They'd
you got like towers then?
yeah.
Because they brought magic back, man. I'll let you know right now. I use magic. It's been a minute, but yeah, no, Shining Zoc came back in clutch. I was
Yeah.
using Blizzard. I mean, I was having a blast with magic. So
That's
it's
good.
been a while since I got to use it. Yeah, I had a chance to use it. So I was like I legit forgot that magic existed. I'm not even kidding. I'm so used to physical DPS that I was just like, wait
Yeah,
a
man.
minute, what am I doing? I have Shining Zoc. How is it going to affect? Because a lot of the enemies in 81 to 90 are weakness light. So I'm like, in my head, I'm so single-minded when it comes to this. I'm like, okay, Alice and Roland, right? Oh, Roland isn't built. Alice is semi-built. That's all I have left. And then after dying like twice, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I have Shining Zoc. I have Lagerboast. I have AOG Lily. Like I forgot about Magic. So yeah, I feel like Magic's making its comeback, and I'm excited for that. So
Awesome.
yeah, I
Awesome.
agree 100%.
Well,
On that topic, I just wanted to add that I don't know, I still would want to see maybe elemental dungeons, maybe similar to Tower or something. But just, hey, you can only use Earth units. All right, well, guess I'll only use Earth units.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting. I think a lot of people don't want that, but I don't know.
yeah.
I
Well,
think it'd be interesting.
I think it'd be cool though, like if we had some sort of mode, I mean that maybe cycles and maybe that restriction changes each time. So like you have a week where it's opened and it's only for fire units. And then another time that it's only for whatever it might be, or maybe it's limited to a class type. Like you can only use a mage team. Figure it out.
Jesus.
Like only
That's too
sorcerers
much.
allowed. Actually, no.
Stop.
That'd be really bad. It would have to be naturally something, because otherwise you could just mimic Resorcerer and use anything. So that wouldn't really work. But anyway, ways to flex how powerful your stuff is over everybody else would be really, really great. And I think that it is probably worth them to develop that sort of thing, because that's what people care about. Like if you're the type of person that's going to spend a ton of money to have all of the very best things, you want to be able to flex on people probably. And if you have an infinite thing that lets you mark that you are definitively stronger in this area than other people, like encourages people to spend money, which, sounds bad, but makes the rest of us free to play, give us something to do too. And extra free rewards is super dope. So I'd love it. Anyway, I think that's about all that I've got. So you guys got any closing things before we wrap up the pod here today?
No, not for me. Just thank you, everybody showed up.
Yeah, thanks everybody in chat, everybody that's been commenting. I know I probably didn't touch on everything that everybody had come in, but I really appreciate everybody's interaction and for being here, listening to us talk about whatever the hell we wanted to flap our gums about. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, and I guess as a whole, as just my thoughts on Leona and the banner. Just if you're in game and you're thinking about pulling for her, I wouldn't stress about it too much. I don't really think you're missing out too much. That's just my opinion. The update as a whole is okay, but I think the biggest thing here is the banner. Should you pull, I don't know, look at your account. Would she benefit you in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I would definitely say that she is not necessary to any account. I do not think. She is a good unit, but if you are a free-to-play meta slave, you do not pull for her. She's not the top-tier pinnacle meta, and if you want to get the most out of her, she'll probably need to. You'll want to have some tools. She's a very, very fun unit. I haven't done enough testing, but I bet she can probably be pretty busted in arena. She's really built for it. Really, her only negative at all is that Roy exists, which is Ed's negative too. But you can get around it. Ed does pretty well in arena, and I think she could excel pretty well with the amount of movement abilities that she has. But yeah, she's a fun, she's a luxury unit that's not luxury like Luxeus is. She gives you different utility. She lets you theory craft and build a unit differently than anyone else. And I think she's probably one of the better bruisers that we have in the game for just dishing out damage while surviving by herself, and just self-sustain. Because I mean, you can do things like throw on Spirit Breath and have a really awful battery because she has her own 30 MP heal. So you could pretty quickly cast cancel and do some stuff and constantly stay max health, and Like, she can do stuff, but she's not going to break the game, I don't think. You know,
No.
she has some layers to her. I think that eventually we're going to find some things that, you know, she could have a place that works extra well, and we haven't quite figured that out yet. And I think as we get new arcs and new abilities, she will probably scale better into the future. Like, I think that months from now, she will likely end up being better than she is now, based on either gear or new skills or something. So she's fun, but she's not. If she's waifu, go for her. She's pretty great. She's got some awesome art, and she's very fun to use. But
Who doesn't like that home screen?
yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But all right, guys. Well, don't forget to go check out Jawline over on Twitch, DK on YouTube. I got their links down in the description. So go show them some love. Keep up with their content as well. And till next time, go forth and murder things.
All right, guys, later.